process. It's part of the selection committee. When will the files be available so parents will have access to the charges? Well, it's open record, and I think that you just request that through the superintendent's office.
Yes.
Okay.
Make an open records request to the superintendent's office, and anything that is open and available to the public. You have to be kind of specific, like put it in a time frame, they'll tail on everything for like 5 years. It'll cost you a fortune. Because then they have to respond back to you within 3 days, according to law, and tell you, ask if there's clarification, try to get an idea of exactly what it is that you want, and then they'll give you an idea of how long it will take you to get those documents together and how much that will cost to copy them. Is there a cost for that? Yes, there is a cost for them, but I mean, if it's literally a couple of sheets of paper, then it's obviously a really not a big cost.
But it's a cost to them rather than 500. It's a cost to them as well, and many parents are requesting that, and they have to paper copy everything.
It's a time factor too, guys. I mean, when we get a lot of open records requests in, there's a time factor downtown in the superintendent's office to try to gather that information together.
And you have one school that wants the same piece of information, it's not looking for different types of information.
I'm just giving you the information. That's it. Thank you. But they'll do the best they can to work with everybody.
Okay, we're getting a lot of questions that's kind of going out of the scope, and I want to read these because I want to kind of just stay focused. It talks about the morale of the teachers. Will they be evaluated differently? We're using the same instrument. I met with the teachers this morning. We met in here. We had coffee, donut, and they seemed pretty much upbeat to me, and I told them that we needed to keep our focus on the main thing, and many of them agreed that I talked to, so we'll need your support as well. This is just not a one-way street. It's us working together to get through this. If parents and children have an issue with a teacher that cannot be resolved, what is the process and the rights of the parent to have the child transferred? Well, normally that issue goes to the principal, and then it goes to the area superintendent. We have a process for parents, and what is that called? Chain of command. And so it goes to the principal, it goes to the area superintendent, it just goes right up the chain of command. And we have a poster, and that's normally available for parents, so you can see when you have a complaint or an issue, how to get your issue resolved.
Okay, while he's looking at that question, I've got a couple of other questions. This one is in regards to bringing employees out of retirement that are double paid. They get their retirement or pension money and a salary. If you are a retired employee, you can work so many days. We call that 49%. But I'm not an HR person, so I don't really have the answer to the details of this, but typically when we have someone, I don't know if you're speaking to the question of the interim principal that's going to be on board, but typically what we do, we have substitutes, and you can hire someone on as a substitute, and so that individual is receiving substitute pay. Now, in terms of all the other pieces of their salary and how that's involved, I really can't answer that question because I don't have that knowledge base. Not being an HR person. There's another question about part-time individuals and how they share jobs. And we do have individuals within the system that have part-time positions, and we do some job sharing across the system. But again, in terms of the specifics behind what their salaries look like, I really don't have that information that I can share tonight.
Okay. This one says, was there no way to get a permanent principal to start the school year? Surely there are assistant principals ready to move up based on all the movement in the district. Very hard to have an interim, then another new person. Also, are all teacher spots filled? We answered that. And then CST spot filled, we answered that. This situation happened so fast that we had to go with an interim. And it was a decision of the superintendent and us to go with an interim so we can find the best qualified applicant for this school.
The other thing is we thought as a school community and teachers and staff members that we wanted to make sure in this particular instance and did make this decision that we wanted you to be a part of that process and it's not a process that happens overnight if you're going to go through the process of getting parent feedback and staff feedback. And we're so close to the beginning of the school year that we felt like going through that process would put a hindrance on us opening school and doing what we need to do to get school open on the 23rd of August. And that really needed to be our focus, which brings me to another question that was asked going back to our students. And one of the questions is, what do I tell my child? How do I talk to my child about the situation? And I think that's the piece that we really need to be very sensitive about. And as adults, we have to be real careful about the conversations, and I appreciate your allowing us to have your children not in the media center as a part of this conversation, because our children see Mr. Trussell as their former principal, and so we want to make sure that we don't say anything or do anything that's going to change in their minds that this was the principal that opened Birmingham Falls and made their first year here special as children. And so I think that's what we need to focus on. And the fact that as adults sometimes that we have different options in life and we go off and we do different things and we don't always stay in the same position and focus on it from that perspective. Mr. Trussell had a great year with you during your first year, but then we have a person that's going to be here starting the beginning of the school year that's going to be your new principal for this time, and this person's name is Ms. Kathy Barlow. So I think that we honor Mr. Trussell as we talk to our children. I think that's going to be real important for them to hear, but also the fact that as adults, we don't always stay in the same role for a long period of time, and so Mr. Trussell's no longer going to be here as our principal, but Ms. Barlow is your new principal, and then focus on having them developing a relationship and getting to know her, and then we'll talk more about that transition piece. But I appreciate and I think that it's good for us too, as we're getting close to our hour of time here, that we talk about the children and making sure that we're very sensitive to how they're feeling about this and making sure that we honor their feelings, that this is their former principal, and that they had a great first year in memories as students here, but then we have a new person that's in place at this time that's going to begin this new school year with them.
I just wanted to say that, related to that, our children have been through so much over the past year. And here they go again with new teachers and new leadership, and I just don't see how you guys in sixth grade are going to put a transition plan together. I don't see it happening. And I think there's going to be a lot of turmoil.
Well, I guess what I just have to say to that is that, we're all working together in this, and I think I heard Dr. Taylor say a few minutes ago that we're going to be relying on you too. We feel very good about the work that we've been able to do thus far with the teachers and our administrative team in just a short period of time, and we still have a few days before school opens, and it's not like a lot of things weren't in place, and there were a lot of things broken, and there weren't things ready for us to move forward.